Good morning, everybody. My name is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms. And today, what I want to do is ask for your help. We're doing a parent survey this week, and we're asking about what are your plans for back to school based on what you know now. And I've tried to structure the question so that even if there's a fairly wide range of uncertainty right now, you can still find an answer that will fit you for now. So what I'm going to do is please ask for your help. Please, the link is in the description. Please take the survey this week. I'm talking today on Wednesday, May 27th, and we're going to keep the survey open through the weekend. Hey, Becca says good morning. Good morning, Becca. And yeah, I know, Becca, thank you for sharing. She shared in the group this morning. So if you're not already a member, please join the San Antonio Charter Moms discussion group on Facebook. It's a community of parents, caregivers, teenagers, grandparents. We're helping each other figure out how to navigate distance learning. We're looking at a summer where, you know, maybe some camps are open, maybe some camps are closed. A lot of us are going to keep learning with our kids at home, and there's a lot of uncertainty about what school will be like in the fall. So that's kind of what we're addressing. Yesterday, we published a blog post that I wrote over the weekend, kind of going through my thoughts about contingency plans because nobody really knows. As schools are still figuring out, what possibilities for the fall, and to some extent, they may have to shift from one plan to another depending on what things are like in the community, right? Like what do scientists learn about the coronavirus, which that was a topic yesterday, was talking to Dr. Joanne Turner of the Texas Biomedical Research Institute. She did a great job answering readers' questions about coronavirus and how to keep our kids safe, but nobody really could answer what back to school is going to be like. So in order to try to better help our community and for me to just try to figure this, I'm kind of obsessed with this right now. I thought, well, let's do a survey and we'll talk to group members and hopefully, please share the link. I'm trying to get as much data as I can this week, and then I want to compare it, run it again at the end of June and at the end of July, and just see like are people's plans changing based on new information that they get. So my goal today is to talk about what questions I put in the survey. It's pretty short, but just want to explain like why I asked these questions. And we have about a dozen responses so far, which is great because we only really started sharing it yesterday. So I would love to get 650 responses because that would be 10% of what the membership of the Charter Moms discussion group. I don't know if we'll get there, but if you get a private message from me asking you to take the survey, please take it because I want to have like a meaningful sample size. And another part of this too is I want to open up a dialogue with group members about how to be an advocate for what you want back to school to be like for your kids, because the schools they're still figuring this stuff out. And if they hear from parents, it makes a difference. Um, there's you can try to shape what back to school is like at your kid's school, what options they offer you, and you can also look at what is out there. You may decide to change schools depending on, if you weren't satisfied with how your school was handling distance learning, but you find out about a school that has a different type of solution that you think would be better for your kids. So that's kind of what we're getting at with these questions. Okay, so that is the big picture. Again, the link is in the description. Please, if you haven't already, please take the survey. Becca took the survey. Thank you, Becca. Okay. Oh, this is where I get fancy and I bring in my split screen. Oh, wrong one. There we go. That's better. Okay, you don't need my big head. I'm going to talk about this. We have these nice little pie charts. I borrowed my daughter's iPad to be the second monitor on my setup. Okay, so the first question that I ask on the survey is, based on what you know now, what type of school will your child likely attend in the fall? And so it's written to be kind of open-ended, like, or it has flexibility based on what you know now, because I don't think anything's set in stone right now. So I mean, my best guess is my kids will go back to their charter school. We did re-enrollment, but we're still waiting to hear what they tell us about what our options will be in the fall. My kids had different experiences with distance learning and the pros and cons. So and we don't know if the school calendar will change. What social distancing measures, what will be the manual, of that everyone will follow when they're back on campus. Okay, so to explain the results in the pie chart, again, this is only based on 12 responses. We're hoping to um, get substantially more this week. That's what I need your help with. Is please share the link. Um, okay, so the blue chunk is the biggest. Is it's charter school on campus, full time or part time. Again, we don't know. Schools they may not be able to offer full time on campus education in the fall. They may have to do a split schedule. Where they have some days on campus and some days at home. They may have to have like mornings on campus, afternoons at home, and then bring in a different group. Yeah, again, like I tried to write the questions to to cover lots of contingencies. But the biggest chunk of our respondents so far are expecting to send their kids back to charter school on campus. Now, the next biggest is the orange chunk. It's charter school distance learning, and so um, that the idea is that that would include like a bricks and mortar campus that's offering distance learning as a choice. Um, like as far as I know, Brooks Academy is planning to offer that in the fall, and I believe Promesa Academy as well. So this is something we're talking about in the group is like what are the options, like if maybe a charter school that's only offering on campus instruction, maybe that's great, that's what you want. But if you are wanting to have your kids at a charter school but experiencing distance learning in the fall, then you might look for those schools that are offering that as an option. It's just really preliminary right now. A lot of schools haven't shared with us what their plans are. I mean, I think like Great Heart said that by late June, like June 26th or so, they would be sharing more information. I think KIP Texas shared a really thoughtful message from Seba Ali talking about what is their process, and I think similar time frame. I think by about a month from now, KIP Texas will explain more what their plans are. But again, it's all subject to what's happening out there in the real world as far as how many cases there are in the community, how much transmission there is, what's the situation at the hospitals, what more do scientists learn about the disease. Okay, so the big blue chunk and the orange chunk next to it, that's choosing some kind of charter school. The yellow piece is traditional public school on campus. The green part is traditional public school distance learning. Um, Again, we don't know that much about what the plans are. I think San Antonio ISD has probably been the most forthcoming, and it sounds like they are planning to offer some kind of distance learning option for the families who choose that. But they're really making an effort to, have enough space on campus, have enough hours of the day that the campuses are open, have a long enough school year so that the kids get the hours that they need on campus, so that it's a refuge for the kids who are not able to successfully do distance learning at home. And given the economic inequities, that's a significant issue in San Antonio ISD. Okay, so the purple part is private school on campus. Um, Private school distance learning, no responses there. Um, Virtual school, we put in an option. So if you know you want virtual school, which is like there's no bricks and mortar campus, it's all distance learning all the time. Um, so that's an option that's been out there for a long time in Texas, but it's been kind of under the radar. I know people are starting to ask about it, but it sounds like in this set of respondents, nobody, is choosing virtual learning. That's why I want a bigger sample. So please share the link. Please ask your friends to take the survey. Um, and then we have a big chunk here of 16.7% that's undecided. And it'd be interesting to see if that shrinks over time, like between like May, June, and July, um, if the number of undecideds goes down. Be interesting to know what that's like. Um, um, okay, so let's see. Let me see if I can move to the next tab. Oop. Okay, good. Okay. Advancing my slides on two monitors. Okay, so the next question I asked was, will your child be going to the same school this fall that they went to last year? And so at this point, it's overwhelmingly, it's like 3/4 of the responses said yes, same school last year as this year. Um, a few said different school, and a few said, no, this is my child's first year going to school. So if, right, the kindergartners. Um, and I put a spot in there for undecided, not enough information to make a decision. Um, so let's see what else. Okay, here we go. The next question was, um, Oh, I should have mentioned, so there's kind of this multiple choice question, and each one is followed by um, kind of a question where you can fill in and say why. But I think sometimes I get frustrated if I if I take a survey and I don't, my options are limited and I don't get to say like why I chose a certain response. Um, so for each of these questions, there's the multiple choice and there's just say why. And to me, it's interesting to read the responses about why. Um, okay, so this question asks, do you feel well informed about what your child's school experience will be like in the fall? And so half of the responses so far say, no, I don't know what to expect this fall. And I that is a realistic assessment. That's pretty much where I'm at as well. Um, and then we had small sections that said, yes, I do know what to expect, maybe. Um, and then one possibility was that I think we know as much as possible at this point. Oh, I think okay. One says school has sent out parent surveys, has sent emails. Um, yeah, so I'm trying to give people chances to express what they're observing. The takeaway from this is that overwhelmingly people feel like they don't know what to expect, and that's a realistic assessment. So one reason I asked that question is I want to know how that changes over time. Like, will that be different in June? Will it be different in July? Okay, let's check the next. Okay, so again, there's a question on the survey that's more open-ended, like, okay, so you don't know yet, but what are you expecting? And just to give people a chance to share what they do know. Um, so this question is, have you been able to share feedback with your child's school about what you want things to be like when kids go back to school? And so this is kind of the advocacy element, right? That like in some ways it's really stressful right now because the schools don't know yet what their plans are and they haven't communicated with us about it. But on the flip side, this is a chance for us to speak up. So if there's something that's particularly important to you that you want your school to factor in, and you're probably not the only one experiencing that, right? So like if you have a child with special needs and um, you have thoughts about, how special needs students are being treated, how special education programs are working. We have a guest post publishing today. It's part of our series about called Towards a Kinder World with guest author Becca McNeil, who goes by Hall Monitor on our site. So, but she interviewed special education parents of special education students about, what are some of the things that they would actually like to keep from the coronavirus era, into as things kind of go more back to normal. Um, and so that's the kind of thing that school leaders need to hear from parents about how distance learning has affected them, and what things they want to keep, what things they want to change. What's important to us about what school is like when we go back to school. So this is asking the responses you can choose from. It's like, did your school send a survey? Did they not send a survey? Did you give them a piece of your mind anyway, even if they didn't send you a survey? And so most of the responses so far is yes, the school asked for information, whether it was like a link you could click on and take a survey, or maybe a phone call. I know we've kept in touch with sort of the special education case manager for my son, and she's checked in with us regularly over the time of distance learning, just to make sure that his needs were getting met. And it was really helpful because there were times where we were having trouble navigating the distance learning, understanding like which packets, which material had the accommodations in it, and it's just helpful to have a human being to talk to about that. So again, the survey has kind of a fill in the blank part, so you can share like what your thoughts are. Like, yes, they sent a survey. No, they didn't. Um, and then, okay, one more question. Where's my cursor? Ah, here we go. Okay. So this is again on the advocacy piece. So we give you a chance to kind of raise your hand and say, yes, I want to be an advocate for my vision of what I think back to school should be like. And so there's a chance that we're collecting email addresses, and we ask, how could we get in touch with you? So the ways that I can help, the ways that our team can help. We've done research about, different school boards in town, or like how to communicate with school leaders. So if you're at a traditional public school district, um, the school boards are the ones, they're the ones changing calendars. They're the ones who would be approving the guidelines about safety procedures when schools reopen. Um, Charter schools have appointed boards, but they're the ones making these decisions as well. Um, and maybe you have thoughts, but you're not quite sure, how to put them in an email or put them on paper. We can share like kind of form letters, where it gives you a framework, and then you can kind of fill it in, customize it for how you feel, and get that sent off. So that's how we're trying to help parents get their voices heard, so that they can influence what schools are like when they reopen. So those are all the questions on the survey. I'm gonna hide that window. Go back to, oh, there we go. My head. There we go. Now it's my head again. um, yeah, so again, so please take the survey. Please share the link, maybe send a private message to your friends who have school age kids, or have, they have strong feelings about what's going on back to school. Our goal is to get a 10% response rate in the discussion group. That's 650 responses, so we'll see if we get there. But with your help, I believe we can. We're going to keep the survey open through this weekend, and we're going to run, you know, we'll duplicate the survey in at the end of June and the end of July, so we'll be able to compare um, the responses. And it's partly we want to see how things change over time. If people, as they get more information, do they feel more confident about what's likely to happen in the fall? And also, um, help parents who want to express their viewpoints to, get in touch with school leaders and shape the process. So, ooh, we have a question from Becca. Okay, so do you think all ISD and charter have an option for families to do distance learning full time, even if the school opens the classroom? How okay, similar to vote by mail. That is a good question. Um, and this is, I think if distance learning is something that you especially care about for your kids, then I think it's good to speak up and let the school know that that's something that's important to you. Um, as far as I know, they don't have to offer distance learning. It's hard to know. Okay, I'm trying to think how to explain this. So basically, if schools can reopen, um, then they don't. I don't think they have to offer a distance learning option. I think, but that raises a question though of like, so for example, like what if a student, has like a medical condition, right? That so maybe under like a 504 plan, maybe the student could say, again, this is something where, maybe I need to have like a special ed advocate on the show to explain this. I don't know. But, to say like my child really can't be on campus because of this, like, health reason, right? Or a family member who's at high risk. Um, so how would that work? But it's a challenge from the school's perspective because, if they have like some kids in the classroom and some kids doing distance learning, that's an extra level of preparation and kind of administrative work on the teachers, right? So do you have like some classrooms that are on campus and some classrooms and those teachers are managing distance learning? Um, yeah, it's really hard to know. And I would love to be a fly on the wall on some of these conversations that the school leaders are having, to try to plan for this in the fall. Um, it's yeah. So I think the best that like as sanitary charter moms, right? As our goal is to help families be well informed, and so we're trying to keep our ears open and gather information from schools about what things will be like in the fall. It's just like right now, things are so preliminary. Like, so like in the sort of long answer responses we got is that people are expecting maybe like by a month from now we'll have more information, at least about what the contingencies are that the schools are looking at. But then there's still a high level of uncertainty about like in by early August what will conditions be like in the community? How many cases of coronavirus will there be? How many hospitalizations? How many deaths? Um, and we don't know. Like Dr. Turner was saying yesterday, a lot of people went out and about over Memorial Day weekend. People who'd been sheltering for a couple months, and we don't know what impact that will have on transmission. Um, like 2 weeks from now, we might be looking at kind of a spike in cases, and we just don't know what that's going to look like. So and there are countries that have reopened their schools earlier than what's happening in the United States, and we can look at what's happening in France or Denmark or Germany, and and see like how much transmission there is in those countries. So just a lot to keep learning. That's why Becca will keep sharing links in the group. I will keep sharing links. I'll keep writing blog posts, kind of sharing my musings and my brainstorms, like I did yesterday. Um, we'll keep encouraging you to be an advocate. And yeah, that's why we're doing this parent survey about back to school. So please take the survey, please share it with your friends, and by a week from now, I should have a really interesting set of responses. And we keep running it every month. We'll have some really good data um, and maybe school leaders can look at our data and make decisions about how they expect parents to respond this fall as the schools start to offer, like, hey, this is what we're offering for back to school. So, all right, let's see what's coming up. Tomorrow we have Becca McNeil as a guest. So she's the author of the blog post that's coming out today in the special education series, and it's about what families of special needs students have experienced during remote education that they would actually like to keep into the future. And then there was an earlier post this month about MTSS, multi-tiered system of support, and also along with response to intervention. Those are steps to take before a child gets designated as a special education student. So there's a lot of terminology, but we're hoping that by putting the stuff out there in an accessible way, that it will help families be more familiar with what some of these options are, and help kids get the support that they need, and not get pigeonholed in the wrong diagnosis. So that's what we're trying to do with this series, and I'm really pleased with the work that Becca's done on that so far. So on Friday we have another repeat guest. It's Teresa Lawrence, who's she's on a journey learning about giftedness and exceptional students and special needs, and learning how to serve their emotional needs. And we're going to be talking about intrinsic motivation, and how, which I think is really timely, because as we look at the summer, we want kids to keep learning, but it's going to be for the most part outside the structure of school. And how do we lay the groundwork for helping them find their passions and really thrive, not just in a short run, but in life. So that's what's coming up. And yes, please take the survey. Okay, take the survey. Thanks, y'all. Okay, bye.